Hello, this is Billy. Today I'm working on my '03 Mustang, and I thought I'd make a short video to try to help people that this video may be able to help. In any event, this is inside the rear end of the vehicle. Some key notes that I was wanting to point out to be able to maybe help people would be this. Now to successfully do this, because I've got the car up on jack stands, so it's pretty tight area. In any event, I actually laid down with my feet underneath, so like my chest, this right here I was kind of to the side of it, but my legs and my lower body was all underneath the vehicle that way. And I actually talked my wife into bringing me out a pillow to tuck under my head, because holding your head up in that position for a few minutes gets exhausting. In any event, now I wanted to explain for those that this video could help. Okay, so when this pin is out, when you pull this pin out, which has got the little set screw, that you pull that set screw out, and then the pin comes out. There's little spider gears, which if I turn the axle, we'll be able to see them. Now, like this, you could see the spider gears. Okay, now what I'm wanting to explain is that when this pin is in there, everything moves together as a unit. But when this pin is not in there, when that pin's not in there, the two small little spider gears, you got one on the furthest side, and then you've got one that we can't really see that's on this side of the pin. You got one over there, and you got one over there. Because when you pull out the axles, those spider gears will fall out, and trying to put them back in was a little bit fun, but it really wasn't that bad. That's why I'm trying to make this video. So when the easiest way to do this is to rotate. Okay, first the car needs to be in neutral. Okay, with mine, what I did is I started the vehicle. Now you do not want to put your feet on the brake pedal, because if you put your feet on the brake pedal and your rotors and everything's off, okay, you don't want to put your foot on the brake pedal. So what I did to get mine to go into neutral, I actually started the car. I did not ever put my foot on the brake. After I started the car, I turned it back off, and then I left the key in the on position with the vehicle not running, and then the transmission allowed me, while the car was off but the key on, I was able to maneuver it into neutral. And once it's in neutral, you can just reach with your hand and turn on the drive shaft. And when you turn on the drive shaft, now this is when this pin's not in. When this pin is not in, you can turn on that drive shaft, and this big fat piece here will rotate. It'll rotate around out of your way. Well, when it rotates around out of the way, those spider gears, there's a spider gear right behind this wall, and there's a spider gear exactly identical mirror image on the back. So when you rotate the drive shaft, this will rotate around out of the way, and then you will be able to see the spider gear, and it will most likely just fall out. When mine fell out, I was kind of like, oh my God, how am I going to get that back in? In any event, it wasn't too bad. I did find some videos that helped me. In any event, I wanted to share some stuff with you guys. So when the pin is not in, the drive shaft will move this piece that I'm touching. It'll rotate it around, up out of the way or back in line, so that you can get the pin back in. So now when you're putting those spider gears in, see if I rotate this thing, let me rotate it so you guys can see. Okay. Okay, when this pin is not in, the pieces involved move separately from each other because the pin's not in. When you rotate the drive shaft by hand, like I'm doing now, when the pin's not in, it will only move this big housing here, okay? And so when you're putting in your spider gears, you just put one right here, okay? And then, because when that pin's not in, everything's not attached, and they move independently, separately from each other. So to move this big piece, I'm going to rotate it back down. Okay, so this big piece that's coming around, okay, this piece here, because in the long run you want your spider gear directly behind that and directly behind on the other opposite, straight across from it. So when the pin is not in, to move this thing up and around, down and around, the drive shaft will rotate that up or down as you desire. Now I'm going to put it back in the other position. Okay, in this position, right here, and right there, right, I got it in that position by just moving the drive shaft here by hand. And now, putting in your spider gear, you just set it in right here, okay? And you see the spider, this spider gear that's on this side, and this spider gear that's on this side, and then you get the two that fell out, okay? Well, those smallest ones, you put one right here, you just hold it in, and then with your hand reach out to the hub, and where the lug nuts and stuff are right there, you can reach over and turn that. And you turn that, because that pin's not in, those spider gears will turn separately from this big housing because the pin's not in yet. And so when you get that spider gear right here on this side, and with your other hand reach over and grab the hub where the lug nuts attach, and you'll rotate it. When you rotate it, that spider gear will rotate up and around to the back side. Now once it starts going downhill, you're going to need your hand inside the back side, keeping it from falling out. And at this point, you want to have the other spider gear laying on your chest so that with your left hand you're able to put it right here, and you want it straight across from each other. Now an important thing at this point is once you've got them both, when it looks like they're straight across from each other, and you're holding it with one hand, you've got one hand behind the backside, keeping that back one from falling, and with your thumb or something holding this side as well, keeping it from falling. And now the pin that's going to hold this all together, you want to make sure it's going to line up, okay? So at this point, right now, is when you would want to, because you're holding them both with this hand, keeping them from falling, and with the other hand, slide the pin in to see if they line up. If they do not line up, then just keep the back spider gear exactly in, keep that one in with your fingers back there. And with the spider gear on this side, go ahead and with the other hand, set it back on your chest, and with your other hand, reach over to the wheel hub where the lug nuts attach, and just barely rotate it. I mean, just a hair, just barely move it, just a little hair. And then put the spider gear back in, and then hold them both together again, and then reinsert the pin through the two spider gears to ensure that they are lined up so that the pin will go in when you go to the next step. So once you've got the pin, once you do get it, wiggle just right so that they're lined up perfectly and you're holding them in place with your hand. You're only putting the pin in to make sure they're lined up good. After you've made sure they're lined up good, you can put the pin back on your chest or something, and then you're going to want to rotate the drive shaft. So with your other hand, you're going to rotate the drive shaft, and the whole time you have to have your hand in there to keep them from falling. Okay, so with your other hand, reach back and grab the drive shaft, and when you turn on it, when you turn on the drive shaft, this is going to rotate around. And remember, the whole time you've got one hand holding them from falling, and with the other hand you're rotating the drive shaft. And as this rotates down, this housing here will start to go over the spider gears on both sides. So you just keep rotating until it has one over on both sides. And then the housing itself will keep the spider gears from falling out. And then you can put the pin in and the set screw. Now the set screw for this vehicle, this one's the 03 Ford Mustang. Apparently there's a lot of people that have horrible luck with this set screw. The biggest advice is a 6 point. Okay, a 6 point is what you're going to want. If you look inside this piece right here, you will see that this is a 6 point, exactly like what we're trying to take out. You do not want to try this one with a 12 point. Okay, the 12 point will not look exactly like this. This is what the 6 point looks like. If you do not have one in your toolbox, go get one. Do not try this set screw with anything other than the 6 point. This is a 6.8 millimeter. Okay, whether it's a wrench or socket, just make sure it is a 6 point. A lot of people have bad luck with this set screw that's holding that pin in. If you want to avoid a major headache, make sure you have the 6 point, so that when you put it on there and turning on it, that you do not damage this. So, in the event, good luck. The two little spider gears, to get those to rotate into position, just reach over and grab the wheel hub, and by turning on the wheel hub, those two spider gears will go around and around, back and forth, to get those two lined up. The big housing here, to get that to go down or around, to rotate this big housing around with the transmission in neutral, just grab the drive shaft and turn on it, and that's how you will get that big housing to rotate around to where you need, so that you're able to get the both lined up to where you get the pin in. Okay, bye.